All right, so this video is going to go into the AP exam and specifically your performance task. So you will see on the assignment that you're going to be practicing some FRQ response questions from the AP exam. What's important to understand is this is an AP class. It's a college level course. They are expecting college level responses. So you cannot just respond with one or two sentences. You need to respond with a full paragraph that's formatted in a way that shows them that you can write at a college level. So we're going to go into how you're going to do that. But first we're going to talk about the actual AP exam. So the final in the class and the AP exam, it's broken up into two parts. The first part is 70 multiple choice questions. So when you take the actual AP exam, you will get 120 minutes to answer these 70 multiple choice questions. So part of the reason I've been giving you practice questions on the College Board is not only to get you ready for the unit test, but those are also old AP exam questions. So it's a way for you to see this content, how the College Board is asking you questions regarding the content. All right. What we're going to focus on right now is this part 2. So this 70 multiple choice questions, that is 70% of your final score. The other 30% comes from the FRQ, or the performance task. The performance task, you will get 60 minutes to answer 4 questions. They say it's 2 questions, but really it's 4. We'll go into that in a second. So you're going to have 120 minutes for 70 multiple choice questions, and then 60 minutes to answer some prompts based off your code. So for the 4 questions, they break it down into 4 categories. The reason they say it's 2 questions is because there's written response 1, and then for written response 2, there's a part A, a part B, and a part C. So I just say there's 4 questions. What's important to know is those 4 questions, each one will come from a category. So the first question you get is going to do with program design, function, and purpose. They are going to give you a prompt, and you're going to have to explain something regarding one of these topics, right? So what's the purpose of your program? Explain how your code achieves that purpose, talk about the inputs, talk about the outputs. For question 2, it's algorithm development. So you need to be able to answer questions off these topics, right? How does your program code, or how does your function work? You know, how do your operators, your Boolean expressions, your greater than, less than, and, or, how do those work? You know, how does your function use iteration, or your for loop? Question 3, or 2B, is about errors in testing. So they're going to want you to identify errors, or if there are no errors, what could you do to introduce an error? If there is an error, how could you correct it? How could you provide an input that might possibly break your code? Question 4 has to do with data and procedural abstraction. So this idea of how do lists help with abstraction, right? This idea that if I didn't have a list, I'd have to create a variable for every single element in my list. And as I added elements or removed elements, how would that change my code, right? I'd have to change all these variables. Using the list gets rid of that. You know, did you write an iteration statement to traverse your list? If so, explain. All right, those are the 4 categories. We're going to go over this a lot as it gets closer. Your assignment this week is to do your first kind of practice response. So to do this, I'm giving you code, right? This code in this image, this is what I want you to look at when you're answering these questions. So this is basically a calculator. There's 2 lists, one for the first number, one for the second number. There's a function called start, which gets called on line 4. In that, it's going to prompt you, do you want to practice multiplication or division? It then calls calculate, and it uses this parameter type. So type is either M for multiplication, D for division. It creates these variables for the score and how many you get correct. It then loops through this list of first numbers and creates math problems using the first number and the second number, either multiplication if that's what you selected, or division. And then when you're done, it adds your score and it sees if you got it right or wrong, and it returns that to you. All right, so it's kind of this simple program for people to practice multiplication and division. So for this one, you are going to answer 2 questions. The first one comes from topic 1, which is program design, function, and purpose. The second one is from your algorithm development. So this first question says, identify an expected user of your program. Describe one way your program's design meets the needs of this user. Question 2 actually has 2 parts. So consider the first iteration statement in the code above. So we're talking about this loop on line 17. Identify the number of times the body of your iteration statement will execute. So you need to be able to look at this code and tell me how many times is this going to loop? How many times is this going to iterate? Second, describe a condition or error that would cause your iteration statement to not terminate and cause an infinite loop. Right? If no such condition or error exists, explain how you would modify the code to create an infinite loop. So they want you to look at this loop, A, tell them how many times it's going to iterate, and B, introduce an error that would cause an infinite loop. So what you should kind of be getting from this so far, writing the code is easy, right? You guys have written code like this multiple times. What they want to know from you is, do you actually understand what it's doing? Could you explain this to someone who does not know how to code? That is what they are looking for in your answers. So for each one of these, you cannot just write a line or 2. They won't accept it. The way they score this is each one of these questions is worth 1 point, and you either get the point or you don't get the point. There is no in between. Right? There's no partial credit. You either get it or you don't get it. And like I said, they want full paragraphs. So I have my students use something called the axis method. Basically what I want you to do when you answer these questions to write your paragraph is to follow this structure. So your first sentence should be your assertion, right? What are you trying to prove? What are you claiming? This is your main point. Everything else in this paragraph is going to support this sentence. So you need to be specific and directly answer the question. Your second sentence is going to be examples. This could be 1 to 2 sentences, but what I want is specific examples from the code that you can use to support this assertion. Right? So make your assertion and then give me 1 or 2 clear, specific details from the program that you can put in here. Part 3 is explain. Right? This is going to be the largest part of your paragraph. I want you to explain how and why your example proves your assertion. So how do these examples that you gave me work towards and prove this assertion or this claim that you made? Right? This is going to be the longest part of your paragraph again. It needs to connect your examples to your assertion. And then when you finish, right, your last sentence, I want you to tell me, why does this matter? This is your conclusion. Explain why your assertion is important and how it connects to the bigger picture. How does it actually answer that question that they gave you? So I did provide a sample response and I highlighted it so you can see. This is my assertion. This one in red, this is my example. This green is where I'm explaining this, right? How does my example prove my assertion? And then this last one is my conclusion, right? This is my significance. So for this, it says describe the overall purpose of your program and explain one way a specific feature of the program's design helps achieve that purpose. So this is how I answered it. My assertion is the purpose of this program is to help students practice multiplication and division problems in an interactive way, and the program's design supports this purpose by allowing users to choose which operation they want to practice. Right? So they can choose multiplication or division. That helps towards the purpose of the program, which is helping students practice multiplication and division. For example, when the program starts, it prompts the user to select either multiplication or division before generating practice problems based on that choice. So this is my example. And then I go into my details, right? My explain. This needs to tie those examples to that assertion. This design choice helps achieve the program's purpose because it allows the program to adapt to the user's learning needs instead of forcing the user to practice both operations at the same time. By letting students focus on one type of problem, the program keeps practice targeted and reduces frustration, which helps users stay engaged and learn more effectively. This design helps the program successfully achieve its purpose by supporting the user's needs. All right, so it's not difficult. It is a really good way, especially in this class, to make sure that you are answering these questions using full paragraphs that look like college level work. The other document I've given you is this written response. This was generated by old students of mine. So what I would do is make a copy of this and then start adding to it as we go through these practices, right? So it's broken up. Each table is for one of those topics or one of those questions. So over here in notes, these are the different ways that they came up with that they might ask you about program design, function, and purpose. This is a sample question, and then this was their sample answer. All right, so you can use this to help guide you. It goes through all four prompts that you're going to see. Again, make a copy, add to it so that you can kind of refer back to this when you're studying for that final exam or for that AP exam. Again, this week I gave you the code and I just gave you 2 prompts, right? So I just want you to practice. My suggestion is as you write your answers, you actually color code it. So your sentence that's your assertion, make it blue. Make your example sentence or 2 red. Your 2 or 3 explanation sentences should be green, and then that final conclusion, just leave that black. All right, but go through these, answer these. For question 2, I would point out to you, you really need 2 paragraphs for this one because it's really asking you 2 questions, right? One is consider the first iteration statement, identify the number of times your code will execute. The second question, which would be a second paragraph, is describe a condition or error that would cause your iteration statement to not terminate and create an infinite loop. I will tell you, the code I wrote does not have an error. So you will have to explain how the loop could be modified to cause an infinite loop. All right, again, you are explaining your code. You are showing the College Board that you actually understand this code to the point that you can explain it to someone else, you can introduce errors, you can explain possible errors. That's kind of the goal with all this. So we're going to do about 6 FRQ practices throughout this semester. This is a shorter one. This is just your first one. I'll be giving you feedback specifically regarding whether I think you would have gotten the point or not and why. I'll put that in Canvas when I'm grading these at the end of the week. So you can kind of see how you're doing and gauge yourself as we go through practice 2, 3, 4, all the way through 6. So those are the documents, right? This is just the website. You can just, on the College Board, you can look up the AP exam. It'll explain all this. You have the worksheet that you're going to use to submit. There's a link to this written response sheet so you can make a copy, and then this is linked as well on the Canvas assignment. All right, so you got all of it here. It's also detailed in the modules for this week. Again, direct links to this stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, good luck, and I look forward to reading your responses.